Welcome to The Explainer. So glad you're joining us today. We're breaking down a truly phenomenal makeup masterclass. We're looking at a tutorial by the incredibly talented creator Ann Nook, who set out to build a gorgeous, soft glitter eye look perfect for a wedding, a party, or really any special occasion. But here is the absolute best part. She designed this entire high-end looking glam almost exclusively using affordable drugstore products. It's living proof that technique, not just a hefty price tag, is what actually creates a flawless finish.
Okay, let's dive right into this. We've got 5 main phases to map out today: prep and transition, building the outer V, the concealer cleanup trick, applying foil and glitter, and tying it all together with lower lash details.
Starting with Phase 1, Prep and Transition Shades. This is all about laying down the foundation.
What's really amazing here is the sheer accessibility of it all. The creator is relying heavily on what she calls her primary drugstore arsenal, mostly NYX Cosmetics for the shadows and Maybelline for the mascara. The whole goal is an affordable, approachable look that literally anyone can recreate without breaking the bank.
In fact, get this. Out of this entire elaborate glam look, take a guess at how many high-end or non-drugstore items she actually uses. Just one. That is it. Exactly one single product keeps this from being a 100% drugstore tutorial. And that one high-end product? It's her base primer. She uses the MAC Soft Ochre Paint Pot. Now, she actually explains that tons of people recommend the Revolution eyeshadow primer as a perfect drugstore dupe for this, but she simply couldn't find it where she lives in the Netherlands. So she had to compromise on the primer, but she immediately follows that up by layering those incredibly affordable NYX shadows right on top. It's a great reminder that while a solid base is totally crucial, your color work doesn't need to be luxury.
To kick off that color work, she applies her transition shade. She starts by pressing a white NYX eyeshadow right underneath the brow bone. She totally admits it looks a little weird and stark at first against the bare lid. But as she blends a light color from her NYX palette all the way from the inner corner to the outer corner, that light shade seamlessly melts into the white, creating this gorgeous matte highlight. And she points out that while a lot of folks love a shimmery brow bone, she personally prefers a matte highlight to give a really seamless, natural-looking gradient.
All right, moving on to Phase 2, building the outer V to create some serious depth.
So to get that gorgeous dramatic lift, she concentrates her darker shadows right in the outermost corner, the outer V. Packing the pigment into this specific sideways V shape is exactly what gives the eye that beautifully elongated, smoked-out structure. It's kind of like contouring, but for your eyelid.
Let's move to and see how this builds. Watch how deliberately she does this in 3 steps. First, she presses a warm brown slightly above the lash line. Next, she goes in with an even darker color to slowly build up that intensity. And finally, she takes just a tiny amount of black shadow to truly smoke it out. Because black is notoriously unforgiving if you apply too much at once, patience and gradual layering are absolutely essential here.
But here's the thing. It's not just the colors she chooses, it's the tools. Tool selection matters immensely. Earlier, she used a fluffy Sigma E25 brush to sweep those light colors over the whole wide eyelid area. But when she moves to those dark outer V colors, she switches to a tiny blending brush. Why? Because if she kept using that big fluffy brush, she would overblend the dark color everywhere, completely covering up the beautiful lighter browns underneath. The tiny brush gives her exact precision, letting that light to dark transition really shine through.
Which brings us to Phase 3, the concealer cleanup trick. Time for erasing mistakes.
Because, let's face it, working with black and dark brown eyeshadow is just messy business. As you pack on that pigment, you're inevitably going to experience fallout. You know, that dark powdery dust that drops down onto your cheekbones and ruins the crisp edge of your work. So what do?
I absolutely love her mindset here. She simply says, don't worry, it might look a little bit messy right now, but you can easily fix that. It's so true. Makeup is a process. It's not about being flawless every step of the way. It's about trusting the process and knowing how to correct course when things get a little chaotic.
Her fix is such a brilliant pro tip. Instead of grabbing a makeup wipe, which can sometimes be super harsh or wipe away way too much of your base, she takes just a tiny bit of concealer on that fluffy E25 brush. She sweeps it back and forth right under the outer edge of the eyelid. It literally erases the dark fallout and carves out this perfectly sharp, straight, lifted line. It's a total game changer for a clean, professional finish.
Moving right along into Phase 4, applying foil and glitter. I like to call this the sparkle pivot.
This is honestly the most fun part of The Explainer because we get to see a real creative pivot in action. While she was filming this for Instagram, the original plan was a completely matte look. But mid-process, she's looking at it and thinks, maybe I should add some shimmer. She decides to just improvise, grabs a NYX foil cream eyeshadow, and goes for it, just to see what happens.
And this brilliantly illustrates the joy of makeup. She started with a tiny little bit, and then genuine excitement just totally took over. She literally says, let me just apply a lot more, because that eyeshadow is just freaking beautiful. She had no idea she was going to do this when she started, but the sheer quality of this drugstore foil shadow inspired an entire pivot to high glam.
Now, how you apply a foil shadow completely changes the outcome. At first, she went in with a tiny brush just in the inner corner for a very soft, subtle hint of sparkle. But when she decided to go all out, she ditched the brush completely and just used her finger. Applying cream or foil shadows with your finger actually warms up the product, delivering maximum, intense color payoff right to the center of the lid.
Finally, we arrive at Phase 5, lower lash and details, the finishing touches.
To tie the whole look together, she takes a flat definer brush and presses black shadow right underneath the lower lash line. But here is the trick. She stops halfway. She doesn't bring that black all the way into the inner corner because that would completely close the eye off. Then she takes her tiny blending brush with the warm brown shadow from earlier and blends the black out to keep it smoky and soft. To finish the step, she pops a warm brown drugstore pencil directly onto the waterline. And that warm brown pencil? Another massive pro tip. She notes that she wears warm brown pencils constantly because that warm undertone makes literally any eye color pop. Whether you have blue, green, or brown eyes, it is universally flattering and honestly just a lot softer than a harsh black eyeliner. For the final flourishes, she dots a bit of that white NYX shadow right in the inner corner to brighten everything up. She gives her lashes a good curl and then goes in with her current drugstore favorite, the Maybelline Great Lash Mascara. She specifically praises it for how incredibly well it lengthens and separates those lower lashes, which is absolutely crucial for close-up photos. Then, to cap off the whole shebang, she applies some By Beauty false lashes for that ultimate special occasion drama.
By combining smart tool choices, patient layering, and that absolute game-changing concealer trick, she took affordable drugstore products and made them look incredibly luxurious. So I leave you with this. With these accessible, step-by-step techniques now in your toolkit, what special occasion will you create this soft glitter glam for? Thank you so much for hanging out with me on this explainer. Keep learning, keep experimenting, and I'll catch you next time.